I'm on the old trace walking up to Meriwether Lewis's gravesite, and I'm going to try to make it over to the historical marker that talks about a little history of the trace. So this is coming off of the actual old trace. This is Meriwether Lewis's gravesite, or the monument designated for his grave. Meriwether Lewis, 1774-1809. Beneath this monument, erected under the legislative act by the state of Tennessee, 1848, reposes the dust of Meriwether Lewis, a captain in the United States Army, private secretary to President Jefferson, senior commander of the Lewis and Clark expedition, and governor of the territory of Louisiana. In the Grinder House, the ruins of which are still discernible 230 yards south of this spot, which is right over there. It's the Grinder House over there. His life of romantic endeavor and lasting achievement came tragically and mysteriously to its close on the night of October 11th, 1809. The report of the committee appointed to carry out the provisions of the Monument Act contains these significant statements. Great care was taken to identify the grave. George Nixon, Esquire, an old surveyor, had become very early acquainted with the locality. He appointed out the place, but to make assurance doubly sure, the grave was reopened and the upper portion of the skeleton examined, and such evidence found as to leave no doubt of the place of interment. So here's the monument. Now there's some interesting statements written on the side. Each side has four corners. Side of the monument. I am not able to read what it says, except for the last portion, erected by the legislature of Tennessee, looks like it says 1848. And then on this side, in the language, or I think that says in the language of Mr. Jefferson, his courage was undaunted, his firmness and perseverance yielded to nothing but impossibilities. And then what it said, I'm unable to read what it says there. Then there's a statement there. Meriwether Lewis, born in Charlottesville, Virginia, August 18th, 1774, died October 11th, 1809. Age 35 years old, I think. 35 or 36. Not able to make out the age. There it is, the monument. Okay, so over here, I'll try to make it to this. An interesting story of Meriwether Lewis was his encounter with a grizzly bear on the expedition. After he shot a buffalo, went to retrieve it, he encountered a mature grizzly bear that came after him. He didn't have time to reload. He took off running to a nearby river. He had the fortitude of mind to reason that if he got into the river deep enough, he could possibly be a match for hand-to-hand combat with the grizzly bear, using either his hunting knife or it was sort of a spear, I forget what they called it, that he had with him. The grizzly bear came up to the river's bank at the water and splashed the water and turned and walked away. So Meriwether Lewis did not have to fight the grizzly bear. Also, shortly after the Lewis and Clark journey, there was a group of Nez Perce that have heard about the heavenly book, made their way to St. Louis. There is the replica of their grinder house, and over that, behind that sign, is the remains or the ruins of the old grinder house where Meriwether Lewis died as a result of 2 gunshot wounds. Some say suicide, some say murder. It is a mystery. Natchez Trace. This plainly visible, though long deserted road as a section of the Natchez Trace evolved from buffalo and Indian trails into the first national highway of the Southwest, cut and open under authority of the United States government after treaties negotiated with the Chickasaw and the Choctaw Indians in 1801. Designed to meet early necessities of trade between Nashville and the country of the lower Mississippi, it is an abiding footprint of the bold, crude commerce of the pioneers, yet it is not without military significance in the history of our country. Over it passed a part of Andrew Jackson's army in his campaign against the Creek Indians in 1813, and again on his return from the battlefield of New Orleans in 1815. But before Talladega and New Orleans, before the soldiers of Jackson had given renown to the Natchez Trace, it received its immortal touch of melancholy fame when Meriwether Lewis, journeying over it on his way to Philadelphia to edit the story of his great expedition here, met his untimely death on the night of October 11th, 1809. Now, this expedition of Nez Perce went to St. Louis looking for the heavenly book. They was unable to obtain a copy, and I believe, I do not know who, it was either Meriwether Lewis or William Clark that gave them a tour of St. Louis. Took them to a dance. They returned. There was either 4 or 5 that was in the party of this Nez Perce. And of course they was looking for the Bible. I think all of them died on their return from sickness and exposure, except for 2. I think one of their names was Standing Rabbit. I'm not sure about that. I have to look back at my notes. But they returned back, not obtaining the heavenly book, the Bible. Now, it is likely that they heard of the Bible from the expedition. John Coulter, who was on the expedition, who Coulter Pass in Yellowstone is named after, could very well have been a Christian. Circuit riding preacher Peter Cartwright rescued him when he was snowblind in a cave before his journey with Meriwether Lewis and Clark. And John Coulter was an extraordinary man himself. But they probably heard about the Bible from the travels of Jedediah Smith, who was a devout Christian and reader of the Bible. Interesting journey the Nez Perce made to looking for the heavenly book. And so this is the replica of the grinder house where Meriwether Lewis met his fate as a result of 2 gunshots. So there it is.